as stewards of creation. We are not owners or masters of creation. It does not belong to us, but is given to us as gift, and we are responsible for it.
We have a cheap food policy in the nation. We have a lack of a lot of deliberate policy around sustainable agriculture. And that began to wear on me spiritually.
In 1998, we were moving out of our convent and we decided to take a corporate stance. We talked about whether it should be something like nonviolence or peace, but in the end we chose reverencing creation, because that was something every single person in the congregation could identify with. That reverencing creation was at the heart of everything we did.
Point 4 is really about your grandson Oliver, and it's just an expansion of his responsibility in terms of responsible stewardship, and it's about the role of grandparents and all the things that grandparents are supposed to give to their kids and grandparents. The fourth theme is responsible stewardship, following the book of Genesis and the creation account, where human beings are identified as, in a certain sense, being responsible for creation. The text stresses that we have a responsibility for that gift. It begins with a beautiful quote from Pope Benedict, which stresses that that responsibility for creation includes finding the resources necessary for everyone to live with dignity. The fourth theme includes a strong quote from Pope John Paul II, who says that if we look candidly at the way in which we live in relation to the environment, we are betraying the mandate that God has given us to be stewards, called to collaborate with God in watching over creation in holiness and wisdom. There's a real summons to a change of heart, a change of way of life in this fourth theme. We now have a Pope, Pope Francis, who feels equally strongly about environmental issues, and who's spoken about the way we've kind of made a mess of it, as he puts it, in relation to the earth. It is our home, and it is part of our human responsibility to care for the world. Today, when much has changed in the world of farming, equipment getting bigger, farms becoming bigger and bigger, more dependent on chemical fertilizers, more dependent on seed companies, on international corporations, we need to be asking, what is lost and what is gained in these developments? What are the values espoused and impacted by our way of farming? I believe we do well to learn from our family farmers, who foster a strong sense of community and whose livelihood from the land is characterized by a simplicity and earthiness. There's something for us to intentionally celebrate and reclaim there.
We tend to think of land as a commodity that we will sell to finance our retirement. And that is a stark reality for many farm families. The idea of a farmland trust is so that the generations won't have to pay for that land over and over again, and that we start to think about our relationship with the land.
I heard the dog bark, and so I went over to the other side of the house, and here was this fellow in shorts and boots and a dog on a leash and a big rooster under his arm, marching along, wondering where he should put his 12 chickens that he had brought. Absolutely, this is a new chapter beginning. This young farm couple, and so excited to come and live on the farm and be part of the development there.
To find new tenants, we advertise in the local community. An agreement is set up with an individual tenant. And so there might be terms and conditions that vary from one farm to the other, but the general principles of sustainability, long-term tenure, protecting the environment will be in every agreement. At university, I studied agricultural economics, and I went straight to work for federal government with Farm Credit Corporation. And during that time, I saw the difficulty that farmers were having firsthand, that more and more of the family farm members were working off-farm, and that it was actually the off-farm income to a large degree that is sustaining agriculture in this province. Those statistics now, I believe, are nearly 75% of the disposable income on farms is from off-farm employment. So as I sat on this side of the desk from farmers, seeing that happening, I began to ask myself the question, would I work a second job so that I could have this one? With the help of the Saskatchewan bishops and the 3 religious communities in the area, found my way into the farmland legacies and the sustainable agriculture. The idea of the farmland legacies is that land placed in trust is put there in perpetuity, so it will never be bought or sold again. It will not be part of the commodity market. So we will hold that land forever is the intent, and we will lease that back to where we can young beginning farmers for their lifetime or until their retirement age, and they may be able to pass those leases on to their children or the next generation, but it won't be through an ownership model. It will be through an access model. So I've got the application forms, and that's something I'll be working. We have 1,100 and some acres for use for this project alone. That's not to mention other acres that we have in other locations of the province and in Alberta. And I'm in my first discussions with people in Manitoba. So we're just on the cusp of how and where this will move forward. And that is up to the Spirit and where the Spirit takes it. And just like this young couple found us that came to the farm, and we feel it's a good fit, we just let things evolve.